Hello and welcome back to the All Out Brits Podcast, the podcast where we send the house on all things NFL from across the seas here in sunny old England. And I tell you what, we had a good old week here in England and here in America as well. This week in the NFL, we saw more injuries than we saw the Dallas Cowboys put up points in their game against the Lions. And we also saw linemen get more total yards than some of the league's veteran players. Travis Etienne, I'm looking at you, you muppet. But the main story of the week, there's no introductions. There's no good, bad, and ugly. There is just one thing to talk about. The Cowboys versus the Lions. And you see, there's an Indian here, there's a Cowboy here, and this time, the Indian is going to be one that's yelling, oh, no, Mr. Elliot Greenwood. Let's get straight into this and talk about the absolute assaults that went on in Arlington, Texas. Go ahead.
Play the Dak sound, because I mean that's what we have to start to get us off.
I think it might have to be.
Here we go!
Bro, you're already pissing me off. Do you know what I'm saying? Jerry Jones has owned the Cowboys for 35 years. Alright? 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's never seen the Dallas Cowboys get beaten so bad at home. Alright? 35 years he's owned them. Jerry Jones' net worth is $8.5 billion. Alright? And he puts that on the field. Okay? And that's okay. We have bad weeks. You lose. That is literally the worst home defeat under Jerry Jones as our owner. Okay? 35 years. 1989, he bought the Dallas Cowboys. Alright? There's another sound that I'd like you to play, sir. I think you know what it's going to be. Play it.
This man has to go.
He's got to go. He can't stay. Jerry Jones, your time here is up. Your time here is over. Do you know what's mad, right? Mike Zimmer, after this game, do you know what he came out and said? He said, we've been bad. Fuck off, we've been bad. We've been fucking ass. We've been pure ass. What do you mean we've been bad? Bad would infer that the things could get better. Things aren't going to get better, Tarran. They're going to get worse. They're not going to get any better. He also then said, I probably panicked. Panicked? You want millions of pounds, dollars, gazillion money. Panicked. Panicking is when you drop your yogurt. You might panic. It's not when you're calling plays against the Detroit Lions. Dang, whatever. It was I don't even know. Go on. I can't even go into words how much that game annoyed me. I can't.
This man has to go.
He does. I agree with you. One thing I would say, I'm going to put an excuse out there. We only had 6 starters on defense. All right. 5 starters on defense. We were missing 2 defensive ends, missing 2 defensive backs, a linebacker and a D lineman. I don't know, mate. Don't know.
May I add? 9 points. 9 points. Was there a touchdown in there?
No.
But you paid 250 million, 60 million to a man who's supposed to be providing those. Surely not. Ladies and gentlemen, this has probably been the best 4 minutes of a podcast that I've ever seen in my life. This is stupendous. Before he starts crying again, we will move on and talk about the Lions, because in this game, although Dallas were really poor, the Lions were unbelievable. I mean, the ball was shared around. David Montgomery, he got paid, and he paid out on the turf as well. Unbelievable game for him. Everyone got a touchdown. The only person that missed out, Jahmyr Gibbs, is probably a little bit upset, but everyone got involved.
Is he a bit upset? He can fuck off. He can fuck right off if he's a bit upset. Stupid prick. Carry on what you were saying. David Montgomery's really good at running the ball. Go on.
And we talked about how the Cowboys struggle against the run. And I think we saw this week how dominant the Lions are when it comes to their running game. Do you want to talk about that Lions offense, mate?
No?
Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll move to the defensive side for the Lions, because I think we should take a moment to reflect on the fact that I haven't seen someone's legs wrapped around another teammates like that since there was the scandal with the Georgia women's volleyball team. And so this was horrid. Adrian Hutchinson, prayers up. We hope that you get better. We really, really do. Absolutely awful injury. I turned the NFL off after seeing that injury.
I didn't make it to that point, mate. I was turned off
I bet you
few
did
hours beforehand, yeah.
I unfortunately turned it off. But what does this mean for the Lions? Because Aiden Hutchinson was probably on for a Defensive Player of the Year season. He started absolutely unbelievably well. Where do the Lions go from here? Because he was a focal point of that D. Do they make a trade? Is there anyone you think they can move for?
I don't think they need anyone, to be honest with you, mate. That defense is genuinely, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dallas were ass, but they were really, really good, that defense. It does make your job is made very, very easy when your quarterback decides to be incompetent and throw the ball to the ops. Can't make a pass, and just the running game doesn't work. Nothing like that. I mean, it would make. I think I'd be a fantastic defensive end on that Detroit Lions team. I'd probably as well manage to get a few sacks as well myself. But one thing I would say is the Lions look legit. Yeah. They really do look legit. They've got a tough game next week, but this week they took the piss. So that's the worst thing about it all. They actually took the piss, right? Getting lineman touches, trying to get lineman, everyone, they're trying to get everyone. I don't know. It's just they actually took the piss. Like, they took that loss last year to heart. They took it so seriously. Before the game, we're on about, this is going to be a rivalry, this one. This is going to be a rivalry match. There's energy here. There's tension here. There's rivalries. There's matchups all over the field. And the Detroit Lions went, no. Sit down, bitch. No. And they just absolutely did what they did. Lions better win the Super Bowl now. They better win the Super Bowl.
They did very, very well, to say the very least.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, no touchdowns, obviously a hella load of interceptions. But there's been one positive for this game, if I was a Cowboys fan. And that is they've got a number one track currently in the charts in Dallas and in Detroit as well. And if I may, I would like to share that on this podcast if you guys haven't heard it. If so, make sure you get at it on your local streaming services. But I will preview it here just now because I think it's an absolutely outstanding
It's actually
track.
fire. Actually fire.
It doesn't want it.
Don't want to preview it.
I don't want to preview it, mate.
Don't want to preview it. I don't think we can handle any more slander.
Long as this gonna last. Damn. Get it, Jerry. Quit it, Jerry. Retire, Jerry. We gotta fire, Jerry. Boy, you know this team super bad. I ain't lying. Every week we taking belt to ass. That shit pissed me. That cannot complete a simple pass. Where he trying?
You can't. That is an absolute tune. Get at that. Get yourselves listening. Absolutely outstanding. Mr. Greenwood, do you have any final words before I put you out of your misery and we continue with a wonderful podcast this week?
Here we go. Yeah, season's over, bro. Season's over. The good thing is next week we cannot lose. That's it. We're on a bye week. We can't lose. 3-3. The same record as the San Francisco 49ers, bro. So you might get a bit chirpy after this one, but you're in the same spot as we are. So let's not pretend like it's absolute curtains. It's over, but it's not over until the fat podcaster sings. Go on, bro. Sing what we're going to talk about next.
Well, feed them to the Lions. We have not, but the Dallas Cowboys definitely have. But don't worry. There was another team that was feasting this week, and so you probably were the second. No, I lie. You were the first most embarrassing loss this week. The second, though, was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely running through the New Orleans Saints. Now, Derek Carr is going to be out for a few weeks, so Spencer Rattler came in, and I tell you what, he definitely rattled a few feathers because he wasn't too great. And, he had a few chances to get involved in that game and couldn't really do it. But on the flip side of it, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, he can throw 3 interceptions. It don't matter because he'll throw 58 touchdowns and win you the game by 50 points. He is absolutely unbelievable. The rookies got involved as well. That Tampa team is absolutely firing.
Mate, those running backs were unbelievable. We've mentioned, obviously, Bucking Irving before, but Tucker as well on the ground was absolutely insane. 217 yards on the ground for those two. They almost racked up 280 yards on the ground as a team. On the flip side of that, the Saints, that was a a disaster class in how not to defend. 15 missed tackles in total, 600 yards almost for that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, and one play that I'm going to single out. Obviously, Baker had a decent game, throwing the 3 interceptions. He wanted to chart those off, but Chris Godwin looked absolutely insane. 11 catches for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. I know you mentioned Spencer Rattler. I thought it was all right. I remember watching this guy when he was a high school quarterback on the Elite 11 show, bro. And he looked okay for a rookie coming in to start against a very, very good team. I thought he held his own. He scored some decent points. He looked like a bit more of a quarterback than what I thought he was going to look like coming out of college, especially. I didn't hate him. But obviously when you're coming up against Baker Mayfield, who is on record-setting pace, I think he's completed like over 70% of his passes this season. That's if he continues to go on with this trend. Tom Brady's never done that in a season. Drew Brees has done that a handful of times. They're the numbers that Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff are putting up this season. He's well and truly in the talk for the MVP. And that Buccaneers team is a serious contender. A quiet day for Mike Evans. Only 2 catches, 34 yards. I know the Mike Evans fantasy owners won't be liking that when Baker Mayfield throws for so many yards and not many of them go to Mike Evans. You have to laugh, but obviously Chris Godwin owners absolutely laughing, bro. What did you make of that game?
Again, absolutely ridiculous, like you said. I think maybe it was being a bit harsh on the Saints. When you think about it, they lost Chris Olave early. Shaheed, I know he got his return touchdown, but he struggled a little bit in parts. He probably didn't have all the assets there. Alvin Kamara is probably the most banged up person in the NFL at the moment. So as good as that Saints team started, they are sort of stumbling at this point and starting to struggle. But yeah, absolutely unbelievable game. And I think that Tampa team, so serious. I mean, last year when Baker went on his run and they made it to the playoffs, I thought they was going to go far. Obviously, met the Eagles and didn't last too long, to say the very least. But I think overall, this Tampa team is going to be flying this year. But another team that hasn't been flying that we thought probably were going to be when they had their quarterback return was the New York Jets. But as I predicted so many times before, previously amongst ourselves, he's got his favourite band back in town. Davante Adams has come back to the Aaron Rodgers connection, and he's come to the Jets. Mr. Greenwood, you weren't too happy because you thought he was going to go to the Saints. But he's come to the Jets. He's come to the Jets.
Last weekend, no, you shut your mouth for 1 second, right? You've already pissed me off enough today. You actually did not think at all he was going to go to the New York Jets. You think you know ball, you don't. You're getting cocky now. I predicted last weekend, we were there, we were both there, we had a couple of beers. I said Davante Adams will go to the New York Jets. You went, no, he won't. He won't do that. He don't want to play with A-Rod again. He does. Did you not see him on the Pat McAfee show? They're already there in the same room.
He snuck in.
He did. A little bit cheeky, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. One thing that I would say, though, is obviously a bit of an embarrassing loss to the Bills.
Yes.
In the week. Aaron Rodgers somehow completes another Hail Mary. I don't know what. That man's doing some black magic somewhere. He spent too 100%. Much time in dark corners of dark rooms doing dark things. But he's number one receiver back. The best receiver he's ever played with. He's back and he can throw in the ball. Now, that New York Jets team is probably a competent quarterback away from a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. Aaron Rodgers has been asked this season. Let's not beat around the bush. I think you could put a lot of other quarterbacks in that team and they would be looking at a 5-6-0 record at the moment, to be honest with you, bro. That defense is stacked. That offense is unbelievably stacked now. Obviously, the receiver room, Lazard, Garrett Wilson, now Davante Adams, Breece Hall in the backfield, who we all predicted was going to have an unbelievable season, has very much been lackluster. But now, obviously, new head coach, new scheme, new offense. It's going to be really interesting to see what role Davante Adams plays in this team.
100%. And I think we saw in the Bills game, they went for a run-first offense. Worked pretty well from them. The kicker let him down in the very end. But I think with Davante Adams back and the Aaron Rodgers connection, I think we're going to see an absolutely unbelievable connection that people aren't ready for. Guys, just wait for these screen passes and these stupid 2-yard slants that still rack up a stupid amount of yards after catch. This is going to be an absolutely fire combination in New York. And they deserve it because they've been absolutely awful. And even though Aaron Rodgers, you said, has been awful, Zach Wilson still has a better record than him. But I have hope that the Jets are going to turn up and start firing again.